Why, Yen, I made the strawberry crepe. Would you like to have a strawberry crepe? Here, have a strawberry crepe. This strawberry crepe is the best strawberry crepe I have ever made. And if you refuse, you will dishonor my family and I will have to commit seppuku.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my leg and my arm.
Eat it. Come on, eat it.
Why, hello there, and welcome to my Unison League channel, and I will be your host, Timely. So A-Team has just dropped a new monster, and I want to talk about them with you guys to see if they're worth wailing for. So, we got here is the Adjudicator, Cecilia. Now, I think she is a very, very cute monster, but I cannot help but feel bad for her. Look at this heavy sword she has to carry. You can just see the pain in her face as she's carrying this sword around. And then when you look at her animation, she's like, she could like barely lift it up and then, you know, summon her angel. Poor girl. By the time she's my age, she's going to have major back problems. But who cares? Let's look at that skill. So we have Wave of Light. Ability power of 150, damages all enemies 3 times with physical light damage with a success value of 100. So that, I think that adds up to 570 ability power, which is a little bit shy of a Cindy kick. So it's okay, but if you look further into her ability, she actually removes damage reduction, damage reflection, continuous healing, and all that good stuff from enemies. So she is very similar to an Aldebaran and a Scar. The only thing she doesn't do is get rid of ward like Odin and Branma, so she is still very good. I can see her being thrown with Madia, the Mortal Sin Madia, for that extra ability power to wipe all the enemies from the other side very, very easily. I could already see it now in a guild battle, seeing 2 Madias thrown up in the air and then seeing this new chick being thrown with her and just being destroyed and obliterated and being left with stage 3 cancer. Those will be fun times. And then, she removes buffs from all enemies, increases Unison gauge gains of all allies by 2 for 60 seconds, which is really important in my opinion. And then she casts Resurrection on all allies too, which is really good. And lastly, she casts Blessing on your character. So, Blessing is extremely good, guys. It's exactly like Hero, except you get a regen and you don't get double the stats like you would with Hero. So I like Blessing. If you don't mind being able to have debuffs and reapplying buffs all the time, I think Blessing is good. And then she also comes with Unison gauge gains, so that she can be spammed very easily with art procs. And she can be used instead of Odin to take out barriers and continuous healing effects as well. So she can make some good replacements in certain quests where you're locked to use only one element and whatnot. So she's gonna have a really good niche in quests and whatnot. She's gonna have a presence in guild battle, and if you're strong enough, if you have the stats to use her as an archer, berserker, or any other DPS class, you can probably one-shot some players with her in player versus player too, in Coliseum of course. But you would need some really high offenses to do so, guys. I think you would need like 250 by 250 attack and magic attack, or in other words, 300,000 attack and 100,000 magic attack, or vice versa, to get the most out of this monster's damage. You might not one-shot if they have ward, but you'll be very close. Remember, you have to pop the ward on her second hit, and then the third hit would have to kill them. So she'll make a decent sweeping monster. She won't get through ward, but she can definitely, pop that ward for someone else to, finish the job. So yeah, that's all I have to say about the adjudicator, Cecilia, and she might actually make it into my top 10. We shall see. Now there's 2 more things I want to talk about, and there are 2 weapons in the class spawn that are worthy of talking about. So we have the archer's bow and the mage's staff, which are the new one, the FireBrand set. So if we look at the archer's bow, it says Tempest Snipe. It's pretty much the same exact thing as Spinning Snipe. Now, I've talked about this before, and I'm a huge fan of Spinning Snipe. If I could build an archer, I'd be using Spinning Snipe all the time. So, Tempest Snipe has an 8-second cooldown and 16 cost, but it has the exact same ability as Spinning Snipe. Now, if we look at Spinning Snipe real quick, we can see how much better it is. So, Spinning Snipe has an 11-second cooldown and it costs 18 cost to use. So, you can obviously tell there's a slight upgrade there. In my opinion, it's definitely worth it for the archer's bow if you can manage to spawn for it, because the stats are premium and the ability is very, very good as well. You could use Linkage Arrow, and then you can use Tempest Snipe or something like that, and then have a reduced cooldown on it. You could also use Archer's Blessing XL, that one new proc. That is pretty much an under proc, 40 ability power, and then it adds some more extra ability power on top of that to make it even stronger. It's a very, very demanding build to actually use Tempest Snipe because the ability power is so low. You need a very high proc rate, but in my opinion, it's one of the best piercing moves that an archer can have. And when the new classes come out, archers are still not getting a damage down ignoring and reflection ignoring abilities. They're going to get a null proc ignoring ability, I believe. So it is always good to have that basic attack replacement that it ignores barriers and whatnot, so that you're not completely useless as some dude is over on the other side with his almighty cut openers and his 40% barrier that he has max enhanced, so he has like an 80% barrier for the first 30 seconds of battle. You don't want to be those archers that are completely useless in that kind of scenario. And then lastly, we have the mage's staff. Now the mage's staff isn't showcased in here. You actually have to go to the notices. I remember that A-Team actually had a typo in it, and they actually just fixed it. So if we take a look at the class spawn notice, we scroll down and then we look at the staff. It says Cursed Blood, ability power of 140, damages one enemy one time with magic damage and one time with physical damage. Now, this is actually really good for a mage, and I'll tell you why right now. So 140 ability power is actually really high, guys, for an armor piercing move like this, especially for a basic attack replacement ability. Now, it's going to be very, very awkward for a mage to use an ability like this because we don't have good attack stats, nor do we have a lot of procs that can proc the physical side of this attack. But it's still possible. You could stack archer monsters and then have art procs that proc both sides, and you could also use fatals as well. What you also can do is have an elevation opener and then put attack testament in your armors in your main slot, and then put a fatal testament in your main slot as well, so that you have two of them in your main slot, and then you can proc the physical side very, very easily to get that extra damage. Now, the reason why I think 140 ability power is so high is because if you go to the Lancer class and then you take a look at take a look at Break Thrust. It has ability power of 140 as well. It looks very similar to what that new ability placement ability mages are going to get with this staff, except you have 140 more ability power on your physical side. So think about it this way: a Lancer can one-shot with Break Thrust even without enhancing it if they have the stats to do so. Now, they couldn't get through that ward because it's a one-hit move, so they would hit you, pop the ward, even if they did 140 ability power. This is like pre-enhancement. Lancers were able to one-shot with Break Thrust, okay? So say you one-shot your enemy with your new attack with 140 ability power on your magic side, and then it pops their ward. Now that other tick with your physical side is going to finish them off. So it's like a double tap. You hit them once with your magic side, and then your little itty bitty damage from your physical side is just going to kill them. Just like that. You don't have to follow up with a second attack, and that's why I like this. And the reason why I think this is really good is because if you're able to put out the stats to actually one-shot people with this new ability that mages are going to get, it feeds less Unison. That's the one reason why I don't like Starburst so much, is because it feeds Unison like a shit ton. I remember like you could Starburst somebody and do like 400 to 500k damage on them, and then it fucking pops their ward like every time, and they're left with 1 HP, and you end up doing like 500 to 600k damage to them. Well, guess what? All that damage is being converted to Unison, and now they're even closer to getting Unison than ever before, and they can retaliate with their Unison and just fuck your world up with that Crate Smash or Siegfried, and just come back and just deny you guys. It's just terrible. Starburst is still a really great ability, don't get me wrong, but that's one of its drawbacks, is that ward opener really gives us a hard time because it feeds like crazy, and if you're not strong, you really need to have high stats so that you can kill them in less ticks. The more ticks you use from a Starburst to kill somebody, the more Unison you give to them. So yeah guys, sorry that took so long to explain, but those are my opinions on the new weapons and this new monster. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I have to get going now. Peace.